Howdy folks, I'm Rebecca Jolly the Jolly Alchemist, finally jolly enough to be able to give this transit report for Sunday, the 9th of November, 2025. So, oh my goodness, you would not believe what I have been through to get here today to be able to speak with you. You would not believe how many times I had to violate my own sacral authority in order to start this video and have to be rescued by my technology, which refused to work until my energy was correct. But it was an extremely painful journey to get here. So, here we are. Let's discuss it. So, we are looking at the left angle cross of Defiance. Okay, fine. And what does that mean, Defiance? So, we're looking at Gate 1 and Gate 2. So, we have Gate 1 coming out of the top and Gate 2 coming out of the bottom in the individual circuitry. So these are individual gates, which means they're wanting to bring mutation into the world by being, in case of Gate 1, the most aggressive is not the word, but assertive in the pure energy of creation. And it's a roll gate. Now, I was not familiar with its role as a roll gate, so then I was like, what does it mean? Do I have to listen to another 100,000 hours of raw talking before I can figure out what that means? But it came to me. Inspiration, hey. Oh, man, gosh. I feel like I've walked 1,000 miles since the last time I talked to you. Fuck. It's about our roles as creatives, the different ways to be creative. So, to look back over what we've been talking about for the past few days, because we've been going through these gates 1 and 2 line by line, as you know, if you've been following. So, 1 is creation is independent of will. So that's a foundational level of creativity, because we're really talking about the bottom of the house. If you've watched that video with the house, I feel like, I really feel like, oh, God, I love myself. Okay, this is an older version of the cheat sheet, but I keep on wanting to refer to this and keep on not having it on hand, but I pulled out this old version to talk with my daughter, so it's got all these updated information things that I'm wanting to have on the new version and are on the new version, but the house here is remaining the same, so I can still use this. So on the foundation of the house, we're talking about line 1. That's where we get some sort of essential information about the thing. Creation is independent of will. All right, now what I'm talking about here is how does it apply to me? Because that's the most important piece. It's not you, it's me. Like they say in the airlines, you can't be first, but you can be second. Or put on your own oxygen mask first. And I have to keep clear in my mind that these transits are not for you. They are for me, and I'm giving you an opportunity to witness my process. And if you learn something from it, awesome. I love that for you, but it's not for you. It's for me. So, it has been bothering me because I've been feeling like even if I don't want to give the transits, I don't want to let down the people who are watching the transits and looking for that information on a daily basis. But as I so recently learned, creation is independent of will. And no matter how much I will to be able to be here for you, I can't do that if it's not there in me. So I have made a commitment to myself to do the transits on a daily basis and experiment. So that's why I've been experimenting with doing it when I didn't feel like doing it. But at some point that may have to change. I don't know. I'm a friggin' experimenter, and my whole life is an experiment. And that's why you see me approaching this as an experimenter. I appear naked in the bathtub. I don't give a crap. I don't care, because it's an experiment. I don't have anything to lose. I don't have an ego attached to it, because I lost all of my reputation so long ago that it just doesn't matter anymore. Being authentic is way more important, even if it makes me look silly, uh, than trying to come off as some kind of a know-it-all or whatever. So that's what I learned from the first line. And let's see, what did we get from the second line? Love is light, expression conditioned by beauty and ideals, which I thought was awesome, because as a natural aesthete, which comes from 57 to 10, I believe. I have 3 channels here, and sometimes I'm forgetting which one is which, but I do believe aesthetics is 57 connected to 10. And I can check that here while I'm talking. I have a natural sort of affinity for checking and using my aesthetic sensibilities kind of always. That's something that I have, but of course it's connected in the case it is 1057. Intuitive awareness plus authentic behavior. In my case, it's a little bit problematic because my Neptune is 34. And so that Neptune is veiled. And so I don't really understand the nature of power. And I have definitely abused power in the past. Absolutely. Try not to do that anymore, because that didn't work well. But that means that the Neptune is veiling everything it touches as well. So for me, the whole entire process of becoming self-actualized, self-empowered, it means that a large part of my life is about becoming self-empowered. That's big. And at the same time, the process is veiled by the Neptune. So fuck me standing, man. It's not easy to do something when you're not supposed to be looking at what you're supposed to be doing. It's like walking blind through the world. I know I'm supposed to be doing this, but I don't really know how to do it. I'm not really getting that many clues. But Humun Design has actually provided me with a ton of clues. Thank goodness, because things were getting pretty bad for me in my Chaos Bunny phase, I have to say. Pretty bad. So anyway, if we need the house, we can come back and look at it again later. But there it is, for those of you who may not be well familiar with the house analogy as explaining the structure of the hexagram. So, line 3 of gate 1 was the energy to sustain creative work. The need for expression independent of success. And yeah, I can see and feel that. It's experimental creativity, right? Because then again, we're talking about line 3 there. Maybe I'll have a thing printed up so that I can use this without having to carry this big sheet around, or maybe it doesn't matter. But the third line is on the stairs and really experimenting, but starting to have an awareness that there's something on the other side of the hexagram, or in this case, on the upper level of the house. And success is much less important to that kind of creativity than to be able to just be in the creative process, right? The need for expression independent of its success. And that's why I've been feeling like, I have to be me. I have to do me. I have to honor whatever it is in me that wants to come out creatively. And it doesn't really matter if y'all think I'm fucking ridiculous, or that I need therapy, or that it's offensive to show up and give videos in the bathtub. It's like, I don't care. It's not about my success. It's much more about finding my authentic creativity. And so that's why I had to do that. And I might do it again because it was pretty fun. Anyway, line 4 of gate 1. That is aloneness as the medium of creativity. Okay, I didn't think this was applying to me so much. You know, I'm going through this experiment and I'm trying to live the experiment and to have a visual proof and to show you folks that this is what it looks like for someone to be deep into living their experiment, so that you can see at the end what that shows up to look like. And it is absolutely true that I have spent more time alone probably in the last year than I have ever spent before. I would definitely say that that is true. And so it has been, even though I'm just now realizing it, a time of considering and using the fact of aloneness being the medium of creativity. So then we come to today, line 5, and that is the energy to attract society, the power to stay with the creative process. Well, you've definitely seen me being creative, committed to the creative process to the extent, I mean, I'm telling you, I'm late. I'm behind in what I like to be in giving my transits, because every time I sat down to do the work, when the time came to give the report, I couldn't fucking give the report. I just had such a sacral no inside of me that I was just like, okay, well, I'm not going to force it then. And then the day passed, and we went out to dinner in the evening, or, well, it wasn't dinner, but, we went out in the evening. And when we came home, I didn't feel like doing it. And this morning, I sat down and I tried to do it, even though I didn't feel like doing it, and I couldn't do it because my technology kept crapping out. And I was like, okay, I only need to see that a few times, or even really one, before, when it's clearly not me doing it, when it's clearly the technology. And I know there's no proof, nobody believes me, that's fine, I know. My recording allowed me to do a minute and a half this morning before it just died. Just randomly, no reason. I was like, all right then, I guess not now either. And I went upstairs and went to bed. But I woke up with the thing being right in me and understanding the direction that I needed to take. And so I am getting there. It may seem like I'm wandering, but I am getting to a specific place. And that place is discussing how this is working for me in terms of, I spoke before about time travel. And I really, really have been feeling this more and more, that in doing the transits ahead of time, I am starting to partake of that energy before the transit energy actually arrives, which means, in a weird way, I'm both ahead and behind you folks, because I'm focusing on it ahead of you and trying to give the transit report itself far enough ahead that the thing can also be edited before it comes to the channel. Then on the day, I feel the energy again, just like you do. And then by the time we get to the day, I did that in the past. So then it's like this weird thing where it's made my life much more expansive in terms of where I am in time. It's given me a looseness in my personal reality stream. That's a good way to describe it, because I have noticed that sometimes I'm in a reality that seems a little bit more edgy and a little bit more bizarre because of not following in the same energy path like everyone else. This is getting into a deep subject that I don't really need to get into, because probably most of y'all don't even know anything about this, and so trying to explain the depths of it on a transit video is not the greatest idea. So I'm gonna go on, but just know I could totally talk about this subject, and though right now is perhaps not the perfect time for it, it probably will be at some time in the future. Who knows? And when that time comes, I'm really ready to talk about that conversation, and looking for somebody else to have the enough experience with the subject to be able to back and forth with me and say, oh, but this is how I saw it, and this is how I see it, and this is how do you see it, or what's your experience been. So what I really want to talk today is about the nature of the fifth line, partially because I carry the fifth line in my profile unconsciously, and having become aware of that, I have been able to claim that and say, truly, I'm a 3 and a 5. So I'm an experimenter, a rabid experimenter. Some people think I might need to be put down as an experimenter. And that fifth line, which is the one that wants to look out the window on the second floor and tell everybody else how to do it. So to be a teacher, a guide, a general, a guardian, a savior, a saint, the one who has the practical solutions. And in order to be able to have the practical solutions, I've had to have the aloneness, the lack of interference. We've been talking about how creativity has this relationship with interference. And I've had to have all the elements coming together in order to be able to create the thing that is being this and working for me. Because today it's working, and yesterday it wasn't, and the day before that it wasn't working either. So, man, oh man. Oy, oy, oy. So, the power of attraction and the power to stay with the creative process. So, I don't know. We'll see if this transit today feels more attractive to you folks than some of my other transits. Let me know if you feel it is. But I certainly feel more attractive to myself. And just as an interesting aside, I just finished reading an email from somebody who said, the way you interact is just so attractive because you're so straightforward. You're so East Coast. And I really miss that here on the West Coast. And I thought, yeah, well, that's why I'm having a real hard time blending in here on the West Coast, because I think my take on things is very much more assertive, very forward, very like blunt, and they're not so cool with bluntness here a lot of times. So I might just have to move away for a while. So the other gate that we are really looking at today is gate 2, line 1. That's, of course, on the complete opposite end of the wheel from gate 1, as I've been showing over the last few days. And so it's looking at the nature of pure receptivity as a contrast to the pure creativity. And on that end, line 5, we have intelligent application. 64 Keys calls it application, and Ra calls it intelligent application. Higher knowing as a basis for strategic thinking. And this is also kind of relevant to me and what I've been going through in my process, because we have higher knowing, which is, in my case, relevant because I have a 61st gate activation up here, and that's all about higher knowing. I do not believe the line is line 5 in that case, though I think it's a 1. Let me check real quick here what my activation is on the 61. It is, it's line 6. So it's almost disinterested. It's interested in higher knowing, but it's on the roof of the house. So it's being able to be a role model of higher knowing, but itself concerned with what's over into the next gate. So then we have to ask, what is in the next gate? So I could switch the camera and show it to you, but for right now, let me do this. I'll switch the camera because right after this, I'm going to do the video for tomorrow because I got the inspiration for that one as well. Thank goodness. And so then I'll talk about the things with the camera switch tomorrow. So for today, I'm just going to look what's on the other side of that, and that is gate 60. 60, tradition. And foundational traditional concepts. We'll have to think about that one and see how that might apply to me. But that's what human design is for. Learning by looking at ourselves and our charts bit by bit by bit, right? Dribble by dribble. Or as they used to say in the church in which I was raised, line upon line, precept on precept, like a summer shower, giving us each hour its wisdom. Blah, 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 blah. But it's about rain comes one drop at a time, right? Inspiration or growth happens one nugget at a time. And I'm basically living from nugget to nugget at this point. So, it's on the edge, but as an experimenter, I'm obviously well prepared for that shit. So, okay. So, moving on. All right. So that is how I'm operating with higher knowing as a basis for strategic thinking. That's a very interesting point. So, I do have this interest in higher knowledge, but it's not just higher knowledge alone when it comes to my actual numbers. And I do believe this is actually close to the correct numbers in that you're seeing here LL and RL. And I've never talked about that and what that means. And that's because in figuring out my own birth time, I'm having to go every single step from the very beginning and figure it out. And these are the things that shift really rapidly throughout the day. And so unless you're pretty stable in what your time is, they don't even matter. So it doesn't matter. So it hasn't mattered. But lately I've been learning more about it and more, and had a class yesterday that gave me a significant amount of insight into where I actually might be falling on that scale. And so I'm starting to feel a little bit more secure with being able to address that knowledge in public. I mean, I've studied it over and over again, trying to get to the bottom of it, but without that inspiration for me, the explanation couldn't happen. So it didn't really matter, the information, how much I studied it, it wasn't actually practically useful for me yet. So now that it's starting to get practical usefulness for me, then I can start to incorporate the meaning of what that actually is. But that's for future videos because I don't want to burden y'all with too much in one day. Yeah, there's no point to that. And so the thing that I really wanted to get around today, and it's relevant to the fifth line, so I thought, good, let's do that. And that is, what is a teacher? Okay, and partially this question comes up because of looking at the fifth line today, and part of it comes up because I am a teacher. This 45th gate right here, that if you can look in on it, you could see that it's both blue and orange, which means I have issues around being a teacher on both the conscious and unconscious side of my chart. And by issues, I mean that's something for me to be. So, okay, so I need to understand the nature of what is it to be a teacher. And, because of how I was raised and because of just the nature of our society, I have been thinking of the teacher as the Hierophant. Yeah, the one who takes someone under their wing and says, come on, kid, I'll teach you all the things. That was really how I approached parenting, actually. I imagined myself as a hierophant. I didn't think of it in those terms, but what I was imagining was, okay, the children that I have, I'll just take them under my wing and I'll just explain everything to them. We'll have so many years together, decades together. Surely I will be able to explain everything in that amount of time and everything will be lovely. Well, it didn't work out that way. Not exactly. And I understand much better now the reasons why it didn't work out that way. But to a great extent, I see that it did work out that way. Because even though I've had to wait 30 plus years, I am finally now seeing some of the fruits of my earlier labors. It's tremendously gratifying after so long of basically being shit on as being a horrible mother, to have my progeny finally coming around and saying, you were right, you were right, you were right, you were right about this and this and this and this. And also to have the beautiful opportunity to see them passing that information on to other people. The things that I made for them parts of their lives, they can now have that as the basis of their conditioning influence, and they're naturally teachers to other people because I have conditioned them, even though I didn't know it, to be good teachers. So we're swinging around. What is the nature of a teacher? Well, I will tell you what I have learned about what it is to be a teacher is that we cannot teach. Period. At all. Nobody's a teacher. Except that the student approaches us to learn. Yeah? So, when it comes to aphorisms, I hope you know, or if you don't know, let me tell you now, I'm very much into aphorisms because I could talk for 1,000 hours, but who has that time to listen? I need to make it as short as possible, and the shortest truth as possible is an aphorism. So, the aphorism here is, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I'm putting out these videos. I don't really give a crap who's watching them because I know that when the student is ready, they'll discover these videos. They'll be sitting here in an archive and somebody will be able to go back through and watch them day by day and see, yeah, I was covering the boring details of what the heck is going on today. But I was also talking about me, talking about my process, talking about what I know about myself, and teaching human design on a very basic level, but teaching the basics of human design in general and what the body graph means, so that people who are interested to learn what these things mean for themselves can just follow along, and every little day you'll probably get one tiny little nugget, or maybe more, but hopefully at least one that can help you at the same time that what I was giving at the time I was giving it helped me. So, the way that teaching is supposed to be, and this is interesting because schools are one of my pet peeves. It is my personal opinion that the greatest thing that we could do for this planet is to free the children from schools. Schools are a major problem, and it's an easy fix. We can just stop doing it. Stop sending our kids, stop going, and actually take our educations into our own hands. Now, I homeschooled my own children, so I have a bunch of experience with what I'm talking about, and I have actually also spent time, thanks to my husband, in the school system with my children where he put them, trying my best to be there with them and make sure that the education that they were getting in the schools was as good as possible. And I tell you, this was, almost 20 years ago now, and the school sucked, and they still suck. In fact, they suck worse. And I'm wondering why we're putting all of our precious future, our children, our hope for the planet into the same exact horrible, old, regressive, repressive, I don't have enough words. I've been learning the phrase in German. The reviews for this thing, the bad reviews, they're not bad enough. That is how I feel about schools. And I had the lovely opportunity of reading a book by a definite pioneer. I think I looked up her chart one time, but I don't remember what it was. Starhawk, The Fifth Sacred Thing. And in The Fifth Sacred Thing, one of the things that's cool is that she talks about how she thinks schools should be. And I agree with her completely. School should be out there. Like the whole entire world should be the school for our children, and our children should be able to have a learner-led learning process whereby the children are free. The children belong to all of us, not to just the people who made them. They should be free to go find the people who they want to teach them what they want to learn and learn from them. Learner-led learning. That is the key to opening up the future, and nobody has to listen to me and nobody has to pay attention, but if anybody wants the answer, there it is. It's super easy. Just stop sending your kids to school. Let them learn themselves. We have the internet. They don't really need schools anymore. They just need to be themselves, which will entail them being beautiful, bright, bushy-tailed learners all day, every day. You don't have to put kids in a school to make them learn. And now I'm going to get off my high horse on this one and say, to wrap it all up, we don't need teachers. Okay, let me amend that. We do need teachers. We need teachers very much. But we do not need teachers who have captive audiences. All of our teachers should be giving TED Talks or YouTube videos explaining and showing their skills so that the people who want them as teachers can come to them and say, oh my gosh, you are the teacher for me. Please, here's what I want to learn. Can you teach this to me? Do you want to do it? And then the teacher who would have some kind of an explanation channel would be able to say, or accept the invitation. Yes, I would love to teach you this, and here's how I will do it in my way. Let's go, and let's form that student-teacher bond, and then it would work lovely. But when we trap students in schools, we also make the mistake of trapping teachers in schools, which means our teachers, as much as I understand that they're dedicated to the welfare of children, they're doing it wrong by putting themselves in school, i.e. jail, as much as we are, as a society, schooling, i.e. jailing our own children. This whole thing of making children slaves until they're 18 sets us up for an entire society of slavery in the form of wage slavery and consumer mindset, rather than what we really need for the future, which is raising children to be the individuals they were born to be, rather than trying to force them into the molds that solved something for us 1,000 years ago and no longer serve. So that is why I'm teaching here. And when I teach in a class, the people who come to me are the people who actually want to learn from me. Mostly. I'm now beginning to tell the difference between somebody who says they want to learn and someone who actually wants to learn. So, what is a teacher? A teacher is someone who has skills, who has abilities, who has practical knowledge to share, but waits for the student to arrive. And if you're still watching this video after all this time, then you are one of my students, because you were willing to put up with all this gabbing in a world of 30-second time span, what do they call it, attention spans, to get to here, to know that there's no use teaching people who don't want to learn. It doesn't work. Come on now. Think about it yourself. Think about the time you've spent in school. Did it work? No. The only times you ever learned anything was when you actually wanted to learn something. Or when you were forced to learn something in a traumatic way and then it became a trauma memory, and that's something you have to recover from, which is not a good way to learn either. It works, but it's not a good way to learn. So, that is my insight about today's energy and about myself as a teacher, and why it is, to an extent, that I'm needing to do this in such a weird way. Why I'm needing to be such a freak, because there's an essential part of that freakiness that is necessary for finding my true path as a teacher and also attracting my true students. And I understand it's a small crowd, it's a niche crowd. Not everybody necessarily needs to learn from me or would want to learn from me. There's a bunch of people who want it to be done by professionals. Okay, you go ahead and get your knowledge from a professional. And if you feel as several people have told me, oh, I'd rather go pay the professionals to teach me. Have fun. Pay thousands and thousands of dollars for the knowledge that I'm giving away free every single day. Go do you, you know? But for the people who are my students, this is another thing I just realized. There needs to be a relationship with charity, because I am a charitable teacher. So I want to give it away. Now, I have to buy groceries, so there's some parts of my knowledge that I have to sell until the world upgrades and I can give it all away all the time, which is what I would actually rather do, because I work by charity. By giving things away is how things come to me. And I like it that way. I'm very happy being charitable. But that also means that both I need to receive charity from others, and I need to be aware that the people who come to me need to be able to receive charity. Yeah? So when I give something to someone for free, I need to be able to establish with them the proper charitable relationship, the proper trade, so to speak. And I learned this by drugs. Last lesson before I go, because we're getting late. But this last little tidbit is for the one person that I know is watching. I'm sure there's others, but I know that one person watching needs this. And that is to understand the nature of the charitable trade. And that is, this I learned from someone who was well versed in doing drugs. I've only dabbled with drugs, but enough to know this. When you're doing a drug deal, here's how it works. When you first meet someone and you want to do a black market drug deal with them, what you do is you give them the money and you buy the drugs. You just do. You just trust them. You just give it to them. And then you take home the drugs and you evaluate them. In this case, for me, it was weed, so it's not that big of a deal. It's not like I'm testing heroin or anything. But you bring home the weed in this case. You try the weed. Do you like the weed? Does it seem like you got good value for your money? If you liked the deal after you have done the deal, then you go back to that person and you can buy more drugs from that person. If you finish the thing and you feel like the weed was shitty, or the bag was light, as they say, then don't buy drugs from that person anymore. That's how you do it. And from a human design perspective, it's very interesting. That's totally 3536 business right there. I'll get into that later. But the important thing is that that's how I have to look at my students, right? Because I don't know who my students are. I must test my students and evaluate them. So when I recognize one of my students or someone who could be potentially my student, it's a good idea for me to offer them a free reading, which I have done to this student, and set up an informal agreement. I will give you a free reading if you participate with me in these videos. And I have to say, I absolutely consider that to have been a good investment, a good experiment, and I feel like this person is in a very good reciprocal relationship with me. Commenting and giving me feedback and giving me support and giving me love for the time that I spent giving her love. So it was excellent. I love you, my dear. You know who you are. And so it worked for me. I found myself someone who is actually suited to be my true student. How awesome. So, okay, I'm learning more and more about the nature of what it means for me to be a teacher and a fifth line. And now I will take down the camera and show my journal for the day so that you can at least see what energy is here. And then I will say goodbye. So let me switch the camera. There. So that is it for today. Thank you for listening. For those of you who have, and those who haven't, well, they missed out. Until tomorrow, bye-bye.